What's going on, people? I hope you're well. Welcome back to the show. Another title race show for myself and my boy Daps. Daps, what you saying, bruv?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Um, yeah, I'm good. Quarter final tomorrow. Champions League coming. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Look, it could have been worse. We could have had Napoli or Real Madrid. So I'm not mad at
Well,
the
okay. You're looking at it
not
like
I'm
that.
not mad at the draw at all. To be honest with you, if I'm being completely honest, I'm all right with it. Um, yeah. How about you? How are you after last night? More importantly.
Mate, I'm disappointed. I can't lie. I'm gutted. I already wanted to win that competition. There's a lot of gooners that will tell you that they're happy now because they can concentrate on the league. I can't ever be happy going out of any competition, mate. That's just the
Thank
way
you.
I've been built up,
Yeah.
the way I've been bought. But there's a lot of people that are saying that now it's all on the league. It's easy. It's one game a week. I don't see it being easy, mate. But perhaps we can concentrate on one thing. Maybe they've got something right there. Let's talk
You
about
know
it,
what?
man. I want to know from a Man City point of view, what you think now? Are you happy Arsenal gone out? Did you want us to
Um,
stay in?
look, right. So on DR on Wednesday, me and Robbie had a really heated discussion, and it started off with me. I feel like I can speak on this, and you'll take it in the right way. But on certain channels, it's
Mm.
you say one thing that's negative about a club, and that's they jump on it, right? And I actually started off saying what you have to remember with what I'm about to say is it's coming from a Manchester City fan who,
Hmm.
despite being very domestically dominant, have struggled in Europe, right? And actually, the reason why it came up is because they were trying to get me to say that Pep is a failure if we don't win the Champions League this season. Um, and what I said was that when I've watched Arsenal in the league this season, they look like Manchester City in its prime, where they look like a team that know how to do it domestically, right? They look like a team that are going to get it done. Now, I'm not saying you're going to, but they look like a team that know how to, right? And I said, if Arsenal play Man United another 3 times in the league this season, I think Arsenal beat them all 3 times. But if Arsenal play Manchester United in Europe, I think Man United win. Now, the reason I say that is because one of my mates, Cass, who was round here one time, and we were talking about Europe, and I said, the mad thing is, if you lot qualified, finishing fourth, as in United, for Europe, you're going to the Champions League next season thinking you can win it. Why? Because you've won it multiple times, right? But with City, I've sensed it that I've always said it. When we got to that final against Chelsea, that was the first time any City fan truly believed we were good enough and we were there and we deserved to be there, right? Because you have to have a lot of moments in everyone always says it, you have to win it first and lose it. You have to have moments, right? To believe and for the fan base to believe. And I honestly believe what happens on the terraces rubs off on the players. Um, and when I've looked at Arsenal in Europe, I've thought they kind of give me City in Europe vibes that
Mm.
they're just not quite as confident in
Mm.
Europe as they are in the league. Now, Robbie straight, and I said, and that is the truth of the matter is, Arsenal have won the same amount in Europe as City have, right?
Mm.
And Robbie straight away was like, but with Pep and the money. And I said, look, bro, I hear what you're saying, but the same pedestal we put Pep on, you put Wenger on. He said, yeah, but Pep's had more money. I said, but money's used to buy players. The same way we think we've got elite players, if you look at the players that Wenger had, he had, in my opinion, Henry is the greatest Premier League player of all time. I was a massive fan of Overmars. Vieira, Petit, like very underrated in my opinion. Bergkamp, you had a lot of good players. So, and I'm not saying Arsenal underachieved. What I am saying is that the Champions League is, and all games in Europe is very different to domestic football, and it's very fucking difficult.
Mm.
Liverpool
Mm.
fans sprout about how they've got so many Champions Leagues. Why? Because it's difficult, right? But so I don't see it as I just and again the team you played last night, if we're being real about them, they are a team that every season start off pretty much in the Champions League, right?
Mm.
So and they were up against an Arsenal team, admittedly far better than where they finished last season, but started this season in the Europa League. So
Mm.
Sporting would have gone into that game thinking we shouldn't be fearing a team that we started in the Champions League and they started in, and that's how they played. And they also played in like the last 15 minutes. I feel like they played like a team that know how to get it done. They didn't
Yeah.
give a shit about holding cards. Bring a player down, 15 minutes, and then it's penalties, and then it's 50-50. So they would just throw some, like, bring players down, shithousery, right?
Mm.
Where maybe City last year against Real Madrid should have done that, and maybe yesterday Arsenal. So I'm not getting at Arsenal. It's just when I look at Arsenal, I actually compare it to City in Europe. Now, if you win the league this season, Dan, next season, I would imagine you don't want to be like Tottenham and just go into the Champions League and celebrate that you're in the Champions League, because you've won leagues. That, like, the one thing, if Pep doesn't win a Champions League at City, then the one thing that will probably scar his record is his performances in Europe. So the one thing that you could maybe say scarred Arsenal's golden era was their performances in Europe. So this
Mm.
time round, if you're going into your next golden era, I would imagine you want to go further in Europe. You want to really do
100%.
Europe, yeah? Now, that's where I look as a City fan when we were in the Europa League. And I always look back at it and think, do you know what? If we would have took that Europa League that little bit more serious, would it have put us in better stead in the Champions League, knowing that we know how to do it? And look, any narrative that this impacts Arsenal in the league, apart from maybe fatigue, but lucky you've got the international break, I don't believe it does. Two different mentalities. They've got the league mentality and the Europa League mentality. But I just would have been nice to see you go further. I would like to see you beat Man United as well, to be frank with you. But
That's fair enough, man. We always like to see them lose. Listen, I wanted to ask you that because I was really frustrated, but we didn't play a strong 11 last night. And I'll tell you why. I understand that you've got to rotate your squad and games are coming thick and fast. I'm cool with that, right? That's calm. What frustrates me is we used them all anyway. They all came on at the end of the game trying to win the game. Just play them, win the game, see it out, take your 5 best players off. What do you say to that?
Bo, thank you. Spot on. Another thing that on DR they were trying to really push an agenda that Pep shouldn't have brought Haaland off, right? Saying he was hating, he should have left Haaland on to score 2 hat-tricks. And I said, right, so that's the narrative that the media is very slightly trying to push right now. But imagine if Pep kept Haaland on at 6-0 up, right, and Haaland got an injury in those last 30 minutes, right? The narrative being pushed by the media would have been 50 times worse, right? That Pep was naive and stupid leaving him on. So I think you're spot on, because you see the difference. When Partey and Odegaard are on that pitch, yeah, Arsenal are a completely different monster, right? And we saw it. We saw it, yeah. And I think you're spot on. You could probably have killed that game off by the 55th minute with them on the pitch and then gone, right, now let's relax, let's rotate a little bit. Look, it does go back to the first time we played you in the cup and you rotated, and there really is a thing about mentality, about winning, you know, what's it called?
Winning mentality?
Momentum. No, momentum.
Momentum.
Right, there's a book called Secrets. It's all about the law of attraction, and momentum helps the law of attraction, because if you keep winning, every single player on your team is going to believe we can really fucking do this, right? If a loss impacts 2 players on your team's mentality that little bit, that could be a difference. So, but look, it is what it is.
What's mad? Just on that point as well, Daps. Do you know what's mad? Just on that point, I just thought, because I remember a fan come on AFTV last night and Cecil said, "Where are you now?" And I said, "Last time we went out in a cup competition was Man City in the FA Cup. We lost to Everton. We couldn't beat Brentford, and we lost to Man City." So yeah, of course it does. That could affect us because psychologically as well. I know we haven't got battered. We lost on penalties, right? It happens. But psychologically, sometimes that really affects the players. So I'm going to be interested to see what we do now, bouncing back.
I think you beat Palace, by the way. I think you bounced back nicely against Palace at home.
I hope so.
But this is another thing that I'll say to Arsenal fans. And I haven't really seen too much, because obviously I've had a lot going on with City and whatever, to see what how your fan base has reacted. I personally think 1 or 2 people saying you played badly. I don't think you were that bad, to be frank with you. I think you definitely, in extra time, Arsenal were the better team. But again, Arsenal fans, if there is any of you out there screaming anything about any of the players, screaming anything about Arteta whatsoever, drop it, drop the agenda, right? Remember where you are. Remember where you were last year. Remember everything that man has done, and just get behind the team in it. Like, get behind the team, because
You'd be surprised. There's a few people already that are like, right, he's got to
they're
go and all
waiting
this
for it,
stuff.
bro.
It's mad. It's very bizarre, And as someone who didn't really believe, I've seen what he's done this season. I can't sit there now and say, get out, you lost to Sporting. Come on, man.
You have
We're
to
better than
remember
that.
that he's still a young manager that is
Yeah,
learning,
still learning.
right? And all these, and the players, young players that are learning. Look, another thing I'll salute generally, apart from Martinelli, your penalty takers, all spot on, great penalties. I hope because I'm a big fan of Ramsdale, by the way.
Okay.
And I hope that doesn't impact him too much as well. Their keeper was great. In extra time, their keeper was unreal, by the way, as well.
What did you
Unreal.
make of the Ramsdale lob?
How similar was it to Naeem, bro? It was
Yeah.
scarily similar to Naeem. Like,
Yeah.
I put that on Twitter, and I thought I'll be fine with putting that goal on Twitter. It was nearly 30 years ago. I got a copyright infringement for it.
Oh my God.
I thought 30 years, there is no way that this is going to be did. But no,
That was similar, wasn't it?
you know what? Right, see, things like that, as long as, like with Edison, look, Edison makes mistakes, but I just, with goalkeepers, because I remember when I was growing up, David James for Liverpool, right? And he had one or two howlers, and it changed him for the rest of his career. He stopped playing the way he played because of the howlers he had coming out trying to win, I think, corners. And with this, with goalkeepers in particular, I just hope that it doesn't impact his confidence, because I do like him. I'm waiting for Pickford to make that one mistake that allows Ramsdale to become the England goalkeeper, because I think the one thing about him that I really, really like is, one, his confidence, and two, is how vocal he is, which I think is massive for a goalkeeper. So I hope he bounces back. As far as could he have done better? Yeah, maybe. I don't think that wouldn't happen against Alisson. Let me put it that way.
That's fair, man. That's fair. I was disappointed last night because of the way that we lost the game. Obviously, it's never nice to go out on penalties, but I actually don't think we deserved it, Daps. I know you said we played well in parts, but I think that was it. We played well in parts. We didn't play well enough. And I think personally, if Sporting Lisbon would have gone out, they would have said it was quite unlucky. Ramsdale made a save of his face that could have made it 1-1, then be winning the game. So I think they had opportunities to kill us off in the game. And I think that looking back now, Mikel Arteta will probably think, why the hell did I not just play my starting 11 and take them off? Because I ended up playing them anyway. Some of them had to play 120 minutes now. And the ones that I wanted to rest have ended up playing 70. So now I think it looks a bit silly, but we're out of it. And I'm going to finish on this for the Europa. I want to read this out to you because I read it on Judge's stream earlier with me and with Troops. This was sent to me. And if we would have gone through, this would have been our fixtures in April, right? On the 9th of April, we'd have had Liverpool. 3 days later, we've had Juventus. 3 days later, we'd had West Ham away. 3 days after that, we'd have Juventus. 3 days after that, we'd have Southampton. Then midweek, we'd have Man City at the Etihad. And then at the weekend, we'd have Chelsea. So listen, I'm not glad we're out. I'd rather still be in it. That's what I want. I want those games because for me, I'm a Gooner and I think Arsenal are a big enough club to be able to cope with it. But perhaps our squad's a little bit too short for that. And I think one game a week now of our strongest 11, it might put us in good stead. So could this end up being a blessing in disguise, Daps? Or
100%. Look,
yeah.
So we had to delay booking our flights, which I spoke to you about, to Bayern, because we were due to play on, I think initially it came out that we'd have Bayern away on a Tuesday, right? And we were due to play Leicester on the Sunday at 4:30, right? And the one thing, like, I know Steve was going to come on tonight. When you speak to Steve, right, we'll speak to you about the running last year and how insane it is. When you go later in cup competitions and the league, well, not the league, sorry, and Europe, and you've still got something going on in the league, it is insane, right? It is. And it's not just, and this is where I feel for players slightly, that it isn't just how physical it is, it's the mental. Like, I'm telling you as a content creator, right? I arrived back from Madrid on the Thursday from the loss to Real Madrid. I was due to be home by 4 p.m. to put my daughter to bed. Flight got delayed. right? I didn't get home till about 8:15. She goes to bed at 8. So all I could do was walk in the house, kiss her on her forehead because she was asleep. And then I was due on Coppish at 8. Had to go out, jump on that with 1,500 Scousers laughing at me. The fact we'd gone out. And then we had Liverpool at Wembley in the semi-final of the FA Cup on the Saturday. And that was a Thursday, right? And then after that, on the Wednesday night, we had Wolves away. And when it gets to that point, when it's cup competitions, when it's league, like last few games, there's no drawing. You must win every single game, right? Every single game. It is insane. And this is something that I think at the end of the season, last season, when we won the league, not when we won the league, when Liverpool lost the Champions League, and I went on Coppish and they're ready for me to cook them, I said, I'm not here to cook no one. All I want you lot to understand now, is because this is actually the first season that Liverpool, last season was the first season that Liverpool really tried to do everything, right? Pep's first season was a failure. After that, every single season, we have tried to compete and go as far in every single competition. And we've done pretty well. Won 4 League Cups, an FA Cup, 4 leagues, got to 2 semi-finals, multiple quarterfinals, a final of the Champions League. So we go most of the way. And I said, all I want you to understand, because you looked tired against Real Madrid, Liverpool did. That's why you didn't win that final. You look knackered, right? So now, when you look at what Pep has achieved at City, understand just how solid that is, that we've been doing this for 5 years. And even this season, again, Liverpool are tired. We're still here. We're still here. We've got an FA Cup quarter-final tomorrow. We've got buy-in soon. We're chasing down a young, fresh Arsenal. We're still here going again. No matter what anyone says, yes, we've got a quality squad, but we've got a small squad and some of the players are aging, but we're still here. It takes everything. So this for Arsenal, and the banter is, Arsenal are now using it as we wanted to be out anyway. I don't think any Arsenal fan truly wanted to be out. But if you're a glasses half empty kind of guy, then this is good for you. This is good, like 100%.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are saying now, is that maybe it's a blessing in disguise, and I think you've answered that fair. Lastly on Arsenal, before we move to Man City, mate, everyone wants to get the apple crumble out now because we finally lost the game and start saying that our season's going to be a failure. So I wanted to ask you if it's possible for Arsenal's season to be a failure. We haven't won a trophy. We're not going to win one now domestically, and certainly not in Europe, but we have got the potential to win one, the Premier League. If we miss out on the title, I honestly don't think we'll come third, fourth, or lower.
No, you're second.
I honestly think we're going to come second. Yeah,
at worst, second. Yeah,
at worst. So what is that seen as? Because winning it is seen as a great season. Losing it, how does it work? Is it a failure, or is it? Do you know what? This has been a really good effort from Arsenal. Like, where do you stand as a neutral from that?
On this show right now?
Yeah, man.
And this show is the honest me, by the way. This show is the honest me, because on some, but I set my tone when I go into shows. I set my tone based on how other people are, right? If people want the brutally honest, warts and all daps, I much prefer that. But if people are going to be shit houses, then I'll be a shit house. Now, for me, right, as long as us, right, so Man United fans, and this is, I always look at how everyone's judging everyone else. Man United fans, at the start of this season, if someone would have said they'd win a Carabao Cup, they'd finish in the top 4, they'd go on an FA Cup run, we don't know how far yet, and they'd go to the latter stages of the Europa League, I think most Man United fans would have snatched, in Ten Hag's first season, most Man United fans would have snatched that handoff, right? So, Arsenal fans, if you're not going to get on to Man United fans for what they've achieved this season, then for me, this is a good season for Arsenal. This is, right, if you were to put it in a graph of what Arsenal's league finishes, and everything else going on, this season's phenomenal, right? No one put you to finish in the top 4, right? No one put you to be on 50 points halfway through the season. You have been the best team this season, right? You are top by 5 points, but you've also been the best team this season. It's not a bad season for Arsenal. It's a very, very promising season for Arsenal.
Mm.
But there's some content creators that have been absolute shithouses this season. Like there was one early on I was on a show with, and I said, look, I'm sorry, but because of the shit some of your fan base have said, the levels have changed, and levels
The
can
goalposts have
change.
changed.
Yeah, the
Expectations have
goalposts
changed.
will change. If you're going to tell me that every player is the best player, it's same with Liverpool, right? And this is why it always makes me laugh when I do shows with Liverpool fans, and I'm like, so Pep or Klopp, and they're like, it's not even a question. I'm like, no, but last season when the question got asked, you were saying it's not even a question. Klopp is that clear of Pep, right? Now it's not a question, right? And again, last season, when I was doing combined 11s with Liverpool fans and they're trying to put 3 City players at best in it, right? And last season, when they're saying Liverpool City's defence was only the best on paper because of the midfield in front of it, I'm now looking at it and go, well, look at your defence. Now, the midfield in front of it is shit. So ultimately, it's all the same. I just think people need to be aware of what they say. And if I'm being honest, this is a great season for Arsenal. Look, I if you win the league, it's undoubted. Even if you come second, you're probably going to take us as close to the wire as Liverpool. And remember that the Liverpool team that took City close to the wire in 18, 19 got labelled by the media the best ever team in Premier League history, even though they came second, right? So work that out. But that is, you lot are probably going to push us as far as that team, but it won't be spoke about as much because you're not Liverpool.
Yeah, that's a fact. The last bit you've said, absolute facts. It will be incredible if we win it. I don't see it as a huge failure. Depends how you look at the word failure, because the opposite of it is success. And what has been successful? We haven't won anything. So I understand why people say Arsenal failed, but failed is a word which is quite extreme. Coming second is something I would never have predicted at the start of the season. So for me, that's a bonus. The other thing that's a bonus, Daps, is that we've got a bright future. Those players are
Yeah.
young; they're only going to get better. But I wanted to
And
ask you if
also, sorry, I'd
go on.
say as well that the state of the club now as well is very different, right? So where you were when you were the Invincibles, right? The state of the club was you were about
Yeah,
to move into a new stadium, right? You've got to pay off that, and the way Arsenal is run is very, very well. So they wanted to make sure that was done. So therefore, the players you purchased were different. The players you even managed to hold on to was different. Whereas now, with where you are, the stadium is paid off, right? Arsenal are still one of the biggest clubs in the league, in the country, in the world, to be frank with you. And you've gone through your worst times, right?
mm.
So now you're going to start getting more income. I think you're going to start, I think your board has realised, thanks to Arteta, the right way of doing things. So not only are you going to attract more players, I think you're going to be able to hold on to players now. I don't think, for me, if Pep left, I know within our fan base there's this dream of Vinny, but Vinny needs to go another 4 seasons before I'm even close to considering him. However,
Had a good start though, hasn't he?
oh, amazing start, amazing start. But at Burnley in the Championship, when people were talking about if Pep leaves, it's like, come on, you're talking about replacing Guardiola with someone that's had a good 9 months in the Championship. I get he's a
Facts.
legend. I don't want to turn into a Chelsea fan asking for my legend to leave. So, but I'll be honest, if Pep was to leave tomorrow, if I could have any manager in world football, it would be Arteta. It would be.
Wow.
I've said it for ages. I got it. He gets it. He knows the right way of doing things. He's young. He's still making mistakes, but those mistakes will go. He's very, very young. If you deep it, I swear Arteta retired after Gerrard. Did he?
Uh, Around that time.
He's probably one of the youngest of all of that lot. He's one of the youngest, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's already people got hype about Lampard, hype about Gerrard. No, Arteta's in a fucking title race.
Mm.
The levels are very different, very, very different.
Yeah, man. I think you're talking some sense there, bro. I can't lie to you. Just lastly, if we were to win this title, and I know you think we're not going to, I know you think it's going to be City, and fair play to you. Um, where would that stand as previous winners? Now, I know it's not going to be an Invincible or a Centurion or a treble winners of United, but whereabouts is that? Youngest manager, youngest team winning the Premier League. That's got to stand up there pretty high, surely.
I think as well, there's things you need to look at. Like when people talk about the greatest ever Premier League wins, right? So you've got the Chelsea team that conceded, I think 12 goals or something mental like that. You've got the United treble, which for me, in all honesty, if I'm being brutally honest, doing a Champions League treble, that's probably the best, right? Then you've got City doing the Centurions, so the 100 points, or you've got City doing the domestic. So for me, if I'm, by the way, with City, I'm not putting any individual City season as the best ever season. What I would put is the 2 seasons back to back, 100 points and 98 points, doing a double and a domestic treble. I'd put as a period, that might be the best ever period, but the best ever season for me is probably between United's European treble or the Invincibles. But then there's always this one that pops up that people put in there, and that is Leicester, right? What Leicester did when no one expected it. Now, they are right that was Leicester out of nowhere. But if you look at the points that Leicester got that season, if you look at the drop-off of many other teams that season, and I'm not downplaying what Leicester did, phenomenal, but if you look at where Arsenal were expected to finish this season, if they win the league and the points they're going to have to finish on, yeah, I'm pretty confident you'll probably finish in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I hope so.
It's got a shout for not for the best. Like it's not comparable to the Invincibles. It's not comparable to, but for maybe for Arteta as an individual, it's one hell of an achievement. One hell of achievement because look, he's come. It pissed me off at the start of the season. Every show I did where people were saying, "Oh, with Haaland, we all know City are going to win the league," and it was pissing me off a bit because I was like, "Look at the league," and this was like 8-9 games into the season, and I'm like, "Why are you saying that when we're not top, right?" So it was, but it is a factor. You're talking about a City team that are going for a three-peat with Haaland, with a senior to Arteta being a younger. It's a very good achievement, very, very good if they do it. If they do it. And that is the key now. Like it's how many have you got 9 games left?
10.
10.
Yeah.
So and this is
11?
it now.
10 or
Like
11, I can't remember now.
this is the thing. Can you do it? Like is big moments. And this is the thing. Like, look, I'm not questions will be asked because City at home, all I got told was, don't worry about the fact we lost at the Etihad. When we get you back to the Emirates, yeah, watch, right? That didn't happen. I heard the same about Sporting. Doesn't matter about the away game. When we get them back to the Emirates, watch, right? Now, apart from that, there's very few blemishes on Arsenal's record this season. But Liverpool away, that's one, right? I honestly think if you win, right, hold on. So you play tomorrow or Sunday against Palace. If you win that, you go 8 points clear because we're playing in the Cup. Then we've got the international break. After that, when we come back, our first game back is Liverpool. If we don't win that and you win, who have you got your first game back?
So I know what you're going to say here. So we can have the chance to go 8 points clear. And
No.
Liverpool.
You could go 8 points clear this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. So we've got the chance to go 8
11.
points if we go. We could got the chance to go 11 if you don't beat Liverpool and we win. That is scary, mate. To think that.
And don't get
we
me
got
wrong.
Leeds. We got Leeds, by the way, to answer your question.
Leeds, right?
Palace
at home
and Leeds
as well, because
at
I
home.
know
Palace and Leeds at home. Yeah,
it is at home because one of your biggest results this season was getting the win against Leeds away, where you played badly.
It was.
So
it's massive.
Right, so if we don't beat Liverpool, which by the way, our record at the Etihad against them is very good, right? But if we don't beat Liverpool at home, and that's a 12:30 kickoff, Arsenal could go 10 or 11 points clear. No, sorry, it won't be 10 or 11. It'll be 11 or 9 points clear. Admittedly, City will still have the game against you at the Etihad and a game in hand at that point. But with the backlog of games we're going to have, it's not an ideal position for City to be in at all. So, look, I've always said it. There's so many twists and turns in this, and we can sit here and look at certain games and say that might be the one. It might not as well. It really might be a random
it's
one.
mad, isn't it? It's mad because I think Man City can win all their games, but I also think that Arsenal can. So it's like,
And if
and I
that
honestly,
happens, you win the league. By the way,
there we go. And you know what, Daps? What's mad is everyone's bigging up this Etihad game. I don't think that's going to decide it. I really don't. Like, I really don't. I think
well,
that whoever wins
it
that,
can't decide it, bro.
precisely. I don't know, man. Long way to
Look,
go, man.
the whole thing I say to everyone is, and like my mate ran me this morning, who's a big Arsenal fan, and said, "Congratulations on the league." I said, "Firstly, bro, last night doesn't impact the league." I said, "But here's the thing: all we can be is the best Manchester City, right? And the best Manchester City wins every game this season, including the game against Arsenal at the Etihad, right? But that still doesn't win us the league. We still need Arsenal to not be the best Arsenal in at least 2 games. You have to not be the best Arsenal against us, and then you have to not be the best Arsenal in one other game, right? Whereas, so we can do everything in our power and still not win the league right now. Because
Mm.
and now when you're looking at it, you're out of all competitions, bit of rotation, Jesus coming back. Is Saliba all right?
So Tommy Asu's not. He's on crutches, and it looks bad.
He
But
got them white,
Saliba,
which is all
yeah.
right.
But Saliba, I think is going to be okay. It was like some
Right.
discomfort and back spasms and stuff, I was being told. But after during the penalties, he was with the sub bench, standing, watching. So it looks like he'll be okay. But yeah, we just got to play our best 11 now every week and just go from there, one game a week. And
Yeah.
one team that ain't going to be playing one game a week is obviously yourselves, bro. You're in everything other than obviously the League Cup, which is done. How do you see that having any impact on your Premier League season? Will it or will it not, do you think, mate?
I mean, look, it will. It will. Last season, so we've got to remember, this isn't even we're going into a semi. We've got a quarter. We want to win the Champions League. Now, anyone that says City concentrating on the Champions League, you don't know City, you don't know Pep, right? City concentrating on everything, one game at a time. I know it's a catchphrase now that, thanks to many other content creators, now
Yeah.
say one game at a time. Before any content creator was saying it, Pep Guardiola's approach is one game at a time, right? Always has been, right? He doesn't want to lose any game. But if I take, for example, last season when we played Atletico in the second leg at their gaff, Kyle Walker got injured. John Stones got injured. I think Laporte actually might have even picked up an injury in that game. Laporte played the last about 6 games with an injection because Stones was out, Diaz was out. All we had was 38-year-old Fernandinho and Laporte with injections, right? And Laporte came out afterwards, had to write to Spain and say, "I'm sorry, I can't link up with the international team. I had to stay and give it my all for my club to fight for the league." And then he was injured till about mid-October because of it, because he played through an injury. But sometimes when you've got a smallish squad like Pep, and everyone, if you want to go and look at it, please go and look at it. The squad is not as big as everyone likes to make out, right? It's quality, not size. That's the way Pep and Arteta work. We had to play with a lot of injuries. Now, if we're having to go to Bayern and give it our all, second leg at the Allianz, right? I'm telling you now, right? In the Champions League, where the leg is, second leg is huge. Absolutely massive for me. First leg against Real Madrid last season, we were brilliant. Second leg, we collapsed. We have to go to the Allianz, second leg of the quarters, right? That is going to be a battle. There will be injuries. There will be fatigue, right? All of these things will impact it. However, let me be very clear as a Manchester City fan, that is not an excuse, right? Because football is about competing in every single competition. It's about supporting every single element of your football club. Now, if we have decided to go into, like, say, for example, Nathan Ake gets injured, right? He's our left back, our one and only left back. We've got Gomez. Gomez will have to come in. He's not good enough. Whose fault is that? My football club's, right? But that's the truth of it. When like Liverpool fans will say about every time there's a failure at Liverpool, it's because of injuries. But your club made the decision. Like Klopp made the decision. Like Grid said the other day, yeah, but this isn't, when we were doing the watch along, this isn't, we know our midfield's weak because of injuries. And I said, what injuries do you actually have? Luis Diaz and Thiago. That's it, right? So it's a myth the fact is your midfield's just not that good anymore. So same thing with us. If we've got injuries, it's on us. So
Mm.
there's no excuses. If we want to go in every competition and we think we are good enough to win in every competition and give Arsenal a title race, we've got to prepare for this. So, but it will impact it. Of course it will. Of course it will. Or it might not. The mad thing is, bro, we just spoke about which fixtures might swing the thing. The same
Yeah.
thing is, just because we've got more games, we could sail through. Luckily, with no injuries, you could have less games and happen to get 2 injuries in one game. So,
So true. Yeah, it's so true, man. It's so true.
and
I
as
wa-
for if any players are taking their eyes off the ball because they're concentrating more on one competition, again, not good enough.
Yeah, facts, man. I want to ask you about these two questions. They come together actually. This is the first one from Dennis the Great. Says Daps, are you scared of Bayern, especially the second leg being at the Allianz, which you've just touched on, and this one from Pads, which says, Dan, could you please ask Daps what he thinks about Cancelo? Heard many City fans saying they're glad he got sent on loan because he's disrespectful towards Guardiola, but he could play versus City. What's the
Yeah, he can.
situation there?
Weird thing. He can play against us. So my view on Cancelo, and it's been very consistent, not this season. Last season I started saying it, is that Cancelo is a bit of I always compare him to Trent. That Cancelo going forward, right, is unbelievable. In the City system, he's perfect, right? Like Trent is. But now we have Haaland, we needed something slightly different. Now, the fact of the matter is, Cancelo every season, go and check it out, is great. And the fact of the matter is, right, the last 3 seasons we have ended the league and the Champions League campaigns with Zinchenko as our main left back. The start of every campaign, we've started with Cancelo as our main left back, right?
Mm,
But as the season gets to the business end, which for me is the most important end of the season, that's why I think De Bruyne got player of the season last season, not Salah, because when the shit hits the fan, business end, De Bruyne stepped up, Salah didn't, right? Cancelo often goes a bit quiet, right? Now, apart from that, look, and by the way, still going forward, amazing player.
mm.
But then the whole situation with Pep, he threw a ball at Pep, right? He threw a ball at him, right?
Okay.
I also think he's a moaner. If you really deep it and look at it, in the last 5 years, he's played for 5 different teams in 5 years, right? No team has kept him for more than a year.
Wow.
People have loaned him and sent him back. And the biggest factor here, I think, why Pep wanted him gone very quickly is the fact that he's Portuguese, so is Diaz, so is Bernardo Silva, 2 of the most important players. Bernardo Silva seems like a very nice person that could be influenced by people in his ear. Right, he lives in the
Mm,
same block of flats as Cancelo, and I honestly think, because I believe for City to win anything, we need the best Bernardo Silva. We don't necessarily need the best Cancelo, and I think Pep just thought we need this man away because he's causing issues in the dressing room. So same with what Arteta did with Aubameyang, and now when you look at it, what a sensational thing. Now, that being said, if he plays against us and scores or gets
oh
an
God.
assist, Pep is it's written in the stars. Everyone is ready to accuse Pep of something, right? Now, if somehow he scores, which is nothing to do, Pep will have to hold this. Pep himself will have to hold it. That it was his decision to get rid of him, and the guys come back there. As for the second thing, going to the Allianz second leg, yeah, worries me. But
Mm,
I'd rather go to the Allianz second leg than go into Napoli second leg, and I'd rather go there than go to the Bernabeu again. I think we need to get City's fan base really going. We need a big game and a big win. Leipzig was good. Last season we had Dortmund
mm,
and PSG. No, sorry. Last season we had PSG. Season before we had Dortmund, PSG. We have to make the most of the first leg. If we can get through the first leg, go back, by any means get a win. Now that is where, and I said this on Man City's official channel earlier, if we beat Bayern Munich in the quarters, right, by any means, we've got Real Madrid in this. If Real Madrid beat Chelsea, which I think they will, the draw has favoured us. in the semi-final, we would have Real Madrid first leg at the Bernabeu, second leg at the Etihad. Now, people talk about nights at Anfield in the Champions League. People talk about the Bernabeu. I get it. I've witnessed both, right? They're scary places to go in the second leg. However, Manchester City have not lost at the Etihad in Europe since 2017, right? It's very slyly becoming a European fortress. Now, people will laugh and go, the Etihad, a fortress. Go and look at it. Go and look at what we've done to many a team. Real Madrid, first leg last season. PSG last season. Dortmund the season before. PSG. The Etihad, Leipzig, 7-0. The Etihad on a Champions League night, yeah, is not to be fucked with. It is not to be fucked with. So I'm very happy that we've got, if we get through, we've got Real Madrid at our place second leg, because I think we can go there. Do you know what? If we go there, lose 1-0, 2-1, I honestly think with Haaland, we can bring them back to the Etihad and win 3-1, 4-1. And just because once Haaland gets going at that ground.
Fair play, man. Listen, I'm going to ask you lastly, because Haaland for me, I mean, it's just actually scary, to be fair. The other night I watched the game and I know that they were poor Leipzig, but my God, this guy's ridiculous. Like, he's unbelievable.
Did you say you went?
No. I watched
Oh.
the game. No, I didn't go. So for me, he is going to be a massive reason as to why what you do this season, right? But if I could give you one, would you take? I know you can only have one. Would you take the Prem or would you take the Champions League this year?
This year.
Yeah.
This year only. Because any other year, I would say the Premier League. Right? For me, I've said it before. 38 games in a season. For me, it's harder to win. There's no luck involved in it. I do think in the Champions League, you have to ride your own luck, right?
Yep.
There's no luck in the Premier League. 38 games, no one can tell you nothing. If Arsenal win the league this season, no one can tell you they got lucky. I had this conversation earlier. Alex Ferguson, he rode his luck in he played to the whistle. Same thing Arsenal have done this season. Same thing City did when we first won our league, 93-20, right? And whereas in cup games, you do have to get a bit of luck, even if it's the luck of the draw, right? So any other season, I would 100% say the Premier League. However, because of the fact we have done so much domestically, the fact, yes, that I am a content creator, the fact that we lost to Chelsea, right? And we lost to a bad Chelsea. It wasn't a Terry Lampard, Drogba. It was a bad Chelsea. And you know what? I'm sure you'll know it. Losing to a domestic club in a big game in Europe hurts more because you have to see them week in, week out. I'd just like to, and do you know what? I'd like to do it for, I'd like Pep to do it just to get people off his back a little bit as well. And to get people off our back, just so, because as a fan base, do you know what? Forget the people you see on Twitter that represent City. Some of them are good people, but forget some of them, right? Honestly, as a fan base, yeah, we are a fan base that are quite happy in our own little bubble, celebrating by ourselves, right? And just being happy that we are where we are compared to where we used to be, right? But we're not allowed to be because everyone wants to remind us about the Champions League. So just to win it, just to say, can you please shut up now and just leave us alone? Let us do what we're doing, enjoy our football, and to be frank, I'd say fuck you, Champions League, fuck off now, and let's just play domestic football after that.
Daps, it's always a pleasure, my guy. We're going to wrap it up there.
Love.
Bro, thanks for coming on, man. Make sure you head over to Never a Foul podcast, smash a like and subscribe. And don't forget to do it on here, people, as you leave. Smash a like on your way out. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks, myself and Daps, talking all things title race, and let's see where we're both at.
With some guests as well. We'll 100% get some guests involved.
We'll definitely get some other people, man, for you guys. And smash a like on your way out. We'll see you next time. Until then, up the Arsenal and take care, people.